going live, but we're just gonna bullshit for a little bit.
Do you have like an agenda on that screen?
An agenda?
Yeah, like you have a couple things written down.
I mean,
or something?
Eric
wrote down
has
stuff.
it. He has stuff written down.
Just because of things he said.
Hello to anyone who's watching. We're just gonna BS for a little bit before we get started at 5. No, but I usually keep everything on my laptop, but since it's kind of close quarters tonight, we'll do this.
That's fine.
Eric, do you want to put your laptop on the right side, actually? And then scoot my laptop up so I can see what's being projected. Oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Great. That works out really well, actually.
Great. 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, no, I usually write up just some notes here.
That's what you're looking at when you do
Yeah.
this.
So, normally my laptop's right. Well, it's obviously up there, and then I split the screen so I see with the live feed, and then I see my notes individually on this side. Yeah. So we normally go on from
So
there.
are we talking
and
to
then
you,
check it out.
director, or are we talking
Yeah, talk to the camera, talk to us. It doesn't. It's a podcast. It's whatever you want to make it. It's special.
With our special guests?
Yeah, with our special guests. Yes, it kind of works out whatever way you want. I'm just gonna go through some intro stuff. We can comment on stuff that's happening within the NFL. We can talk about trades and all that. I want to talk about how bad the refs are this week, especially this week because they were trash.
Okay.
I mean, that's been the story of the entire week.
Oh, that's awful. And Alberto Riveron is not helping.
What do you think of that 1 second left in the Pats game?
That was
kind of BS.
so. No, that was.
That's right.
It was right.
But I
yeah.
was just like, how do you mismanage that?
But the thing is, it's the rule because the guy in the sideline catches it with 1 second. So if they go back and review it, it's challenged. They can challenge that to the booth. It's not challengeable on the field.
I
but
was
the
just
booth
thinking of
will look
like
at
the
that.
Miami Miracle from last
Oh,
year.
yeah,
Just don't even
100%.
let this happen.
Yeah, but I knew like the Cowboys with how their offense was playing, they were not going to be able to do anything with that.
Amari Cooper being shut down. I thought that was huge. No
Oh, yeah.
reception, nothing.
Nothing. He had a catch, but there was a holding penalty that brought it back.
Yeah.
But that's nothing.
Stephon Gilmore did his job.
My favorite was the video on Facebook highlighting how Stephon Gilmore shut down every receiver all night, and the first clip is Jason Witten making a catch in his zone.
Yeah.
It's like a little flat route. It's great. But that's 5 o'clock right there, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? My name's Jordan Lauby. Welcome back to another episode of Washed Up Wednesdays. I have 2 special guests with me tonight. The first being
Eric, nice to meet you.
And then
I'm Zach, Jordan's brother.
cool, sweet. So Washed Up Wednesdays. Anyone new that's viewing? Let's get right into it. We talk about anything from anything NFL based, whether it be trades, game results, injuries, anything controversial that happened. Talk about big players, big time games, anything of the sort. We get right into. So I have a couple notes here that I want to bring up right away. First of all, the refs clearly have been awful the entire year, just been absolutely awful. And the Jets and Raiders game I thought was no exception. You want to get into it a little bit?
I thought the Jets did phenomenal. I thought the Jets did phenomenal for himself. I mean, Sam Darnold, I think one of the biggest stories out of the week was he went to go party with some girls and stuff. And, like the girl came out and like IGTV and stuff. And she's like, I was the girl that hooked up with Sam Darnold. I was like, congratulations to you. Nothing related to the NFL. I was like, all right, cool. And then everyone was making big headlines for it. It's like 22-year-old kid doing 22-year-old things. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
So, Zach, how do you think the refs have been performing overall this year?
I have to say I'm pretty disappointed so far.
Yeah.
As per specifics, there was a couple things this past week that I saw that weren't too exciting. Specifically, we were talking about it just earlier, the 1 second left over in that previous game. I think what a lot of this has to do with is Alberto Riveron, we were talking about earlier, is I think New York is getting too involved. I think the officials are on the field and they're too worried about what Mr. Riveron is thinking over in New York. And you can see it a couple of times where if an official is going right for his earpiece right after a call was made or a call wasn't made, that's kind of telling us something. That it's not the guys that are on the field making the decision. It's someone else in some office somewhere else. And when someone else in an office is really dictating how you're doing your job and you're not allowed to work as a team with the other guys in the field, that it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem authentic. And the game is supposed to be officiated by, 3 groups really, offense, the away team, the home team, and the officials. It's a whole separate team on the field, and they need to be treated as such. And they shouldn't have someone coaching them, a couple hundred miles away. Of
course, that's a great point. And especially, I'm gonna actually go and reference the Colts game here. At the very end of the game, Darius Leonard forced a fumble. Was clearly in his lap when they recovered it. They blew it dead as the ball was coming out. Deshaun Watson had a QB keep on it. It was in his hands, and they decided not to review it and not to bring it to the booth. I thought it was total BS because Deshaun Watson's knee was not down, and it was in Darius Leonard's lap, and he's pointing the other direction. I think Jacoby Brissett drives down, and they at least get a field goal out of it, even with how Vinatieri has been playing. But that game's completely different. It's a huge divisional game for the AFC South, which is very, very close, which is what you're going to talk about in a second here. But I just think that's a huge loss for the Colts, and not only for the Colts, but it could literally change.
You can change the AFC South. You can completely change the playoffs. So let me just pull something up really quick. So my game of the week it's actually refers to the AFC South.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Titans and Jags.
Okay.
So Titans won 42, Jags 24. Ryan Tannehill, amazing game. 259 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 2 touchdowns himself. Then A.J. Brown going for 135 for a touchdown. Great job on the rookie.
Of course.
But also opens up the AFC South. So, for example, if we just pull this up really quick just so everyone can see here. So for the AFC South, for you, those of you who don't know, it's the Texans who are 7-4, Colts and Titans are both 6-5, and Jaguars are 4-7. So the Texans play the Patriots this week, and then the Colts and Titans. You know the game off the top of your head?
Colts and Titans. Colts play. I do not know off the top of my head. I can bring it up on my phone. Give me 1 second.
The Titans and Colts play each other this week.
Oh, the Titans and Colts play each other. That's even
bigger
now.
That's why I'm saying the AFC South is really wide open. And the Patriots defense has been locked down all year. Going against the Texans obviously will be very tough against for Watson, Hopkins. Fuller came back. But the AFC South is very wide open. No one's really talking about it. I don't understand why. And the Titans have won the past 4 out of 5 games ever since they benched Marcus Mariota, putting in Ryan Tannehill. Contract year for him.
Huge contract.
Contract year. Is he going to be their starter next year? He's going to be a franchise quarterback.
I hope so. I mean, he was supposed to be a franchise guy
in Miami.
In Miami, but he's 30 years old now. He's going to be 31 at the start of next season.
That's still pretty good, though.
Yeah, it's still solid. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 35 now, and he didn't get going until he was 26, 27 years old. So there's that dynamic too. Guys start late in their career. Josh McCown was a nobody till he was 36. So I mean, there's that. What do you think with how close the AFC South is? Do you think that Gardner Minshew should be back in place as a starter? Because the Jags are on a 3-game skid now. 2 of their losses have been Nick Foles at the helm. So Nick Foles, excuse me.
I think we're really quick to judge quarterbacks nowadays.
Yeah.
We want guys to produce right away. Of course we do. But a lot of times it's you're asking a young man at 21 or 22 years old to come in sometimes into a huddle where there's plenty of years of experience that outweigh what you have and what you're bringing to the table. And of course, you have your different levels of support with your coordinators, your coaches, your mentors, and things like that. But that's a lot to step into a huddle and now take command. And we've seen a lot of players do that very well. They step right in, they produce right away, and sometimes the freshman year is very favorable for them, and sometimes the sophomore year they fall off. In Gardner Minshew's case, we've seen him make some ridiculous throws. There's a reason why it was called Minshew Magic. We didn't just come up with that out of nowhere. He earned that. There's a reason why in his hometown everyone wears a damn mustache. And so I think it's something that I want to be patient with Minshew. I want to be patient with Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, all these other quarterbacks, because it's been very exciting at the beginning of this year. All of these young guys stepping up into new roles, and I think everyone deserves a chance. And we shouldn't just be judging someone by one season, because if we did that, there's a lot of Hall of Fame quarterbacks that are either in the Hall of Fame right now or are going to be, and they did not have hot starts either.
No. And I think that's a great point, especially we're in a new wave right now where we're finding out who the quarterbacks and the next generation of quarterbacks is, because Brady's leaving. Breeze is leaving. Rodgers is going to be done soon. Rivers might retire after this season. That's a fun one. We can dive into that a little bit in a second. But we have probably 5 or 6, maybe 7 quarterbacks that this is probably their last season. If not, they're retiring within the next 3 years. I mean, Stafford's 33 now, 34 years old, and his back is literally broken. How much longer does he have? So there's a whole wave of quarterbacks who are going to be gone. Almost half the NFL teams have had a backup quarterback come into the game and start at some point throughout the season. And even backups are getting replaced. We saw Mason Rudolph is getting benched for Delvin Hodges this week. Hodges, I think it's a very small sample size to make that decision.
Well, I know, and that could be from the previous week as well, not just performance from that game. And that could be something that maybe as a coach, I might be saying, with everything that happened the previous week, with Myles Garrett and that silly situation there.
That's smart.
Where if someone's really going off the tracks and we're snowballing, it may not be a bad idea to take the young guy and say, hey, you know what, just sit the rest of this one out. Let someone else come in, finish the job, clean up the mess, and we'll move on to the next one.
Well, they mentioned the rookie. Is it the rookie from the Bengals too? And they put it in.
Andy Dalton's going back in over Ryan Finley. I think that's dumb.
Why go through that process anyways? Like, if you're gonna tank, go for whoever you're gonna go for in the college player. It's just like, what are you gonna do with it? That's another quarterback. It's like, are the Bengals gonna keep him? Let him go. Like, there's quite a few quarterbacks this year. Philip Rivers. I'm telling you, Philip Rivers. I think, in my opinion, they should get rid of Philip Rivers
and go with Tyrod Taylor or draft another guy. Or
I feel like the Chargers have the pieces. You have two of the best running backs in the league.
Literally, you have the best 1-2 punch in the NFL.
Great tight end. Don't remember his name off.
Hunter Henry. All right, Stephen A. Relax.
But even like Keenan Allen, it's just like, you have the offense. It's Rivers that chokes. They were 12-4 last year. And it's just like, what is he throwing? 15 interceptions this year?
15 already.
It's insanity.
Insanity, literally. So, and I actually want to bring up the Chargers because they are getting Derwin James back this week, which is a huge piece of that defense. Really going to help them out. They've been struggling. Melvin Ingram was out for a while. They haven't had the linebackers that they've wanted to all season. So I think that's a big addition getting him back. So that might help him. Might be a 1 + 1 = 3 effect. I know I say that a lot on this show, but it's been dutifully true this season, especially with how the Chargers might end up performing in the second half. But
I think it's too late for them. Way too late. I mean, you have the Chiefs, you got the Raiders. The Raiders have been doing really good, minus this. Whatever happened to them this week.
Jets defense is unbelievable.
Yeah, the past few games, the Jets been doing. Sam Darnold, I'm telling you, just on the rise. I don't know what happened. It's
just something.
Just something clicked.
Yeah,
but
sure.
But I think it's too late for them too in the AFC East.
That's true.
But this week, the Patriots can clinch.
They can.
They can if they can clinch with the Pats win, Oakland loss, or like a tie. There's quite a few scenarios. And, New Orleans Saints can clinch too this week.
Very true.
So yeah,
it will be interesting to see what happens. But as far as my game of the week, I actually have the Saints versus the Panthers. I thought that was a great game. Saints go up early. They go up 14-0 in the first quarter. Panthers slowly start to make their way back, and it's 31-31. You're on, I think they were on the 10-yard line, maybe even closer. And it's a chip shot, 28-yard field goal. Joey Slye pushes it to the right after missing 2 extra points earlier. If he makes one of those two, it's not even a tie game, and they go home with a win. So a lot of kicker struggles last year, a lot of kicker struggles this year. Joey Slye looked great off the bat. First game, nailed the 60-yard field goal, which was awesome. So do you think – I'll pose this question for Zach. Do you think that there's a lack of quality kickers in the NFL, or do you think it's just new pressures coming in with how quick operation times are now and how fast just guys are meshing and finding out ways to get better blocks and to get into the protections a lot easier with the new rules in place of not even jumping over center and hitting the center?
Yeah, that's all true and valid. I don't have the statistics in front of me to back up what I'm about to say, but I'll say in general, when we're talking about any new rules in the NFL, we usually see a drop in production on one end. So for the PATs being moved back, we saw a decrease in PATs being made, and people said, "Oh my God, kickers suck." No, kickers don't suck. It's just something you had to adapt to. Yeah. And then what did we see after? We saw the PAT completion rate go back up, and it's still steadily rising. So even though we're seeing a couple of mishaps in the first half of the season, I think that's only, and we've seen a couple of blocks so far. I think that's because now defenses are they've switched back on. They said, okay, we have a rule change. We're figuring out things how to scheme, how to get guys open through double teams and pinches, and find ways to get our guys into the backfield and block that ball.
I think so too. I'll push that back to me. And I think the other great reason for that too is I think because of moving it back, it's teams on PATs, the edge rushers wouldn't even go for it when it was on the 2-yard line being snapped. It's like, well, it's automatic.
No reason.
But now it's at the 30. You're kicking from the 23-yard line for a 33-yard field goal, and it's like, we actually have a shot to go and block this. So why not? Let's go gung-ho and try to get in the backfield as quick as we can. So I think that's a huge piece to it as well. But, I mean, Joey Slye looked great early on. Looks like they're going to stick with Graham Gano when he comes back next year. Joey Slye. They brought in a kicker. I forget who they brought in for the workout. Can you recall? Yeah. I know they brought in some guy just to bring on the pressure, but we'll see.
The 49ers are going to have to make They have the
Big decision. Yeah, add on that a little bit.
So Gold is going to come back. I think it's this week, next week.
Next week, I think. This week he's back in practice, but I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah, the current kicker now has been really
good. Chase McLaughlin's been unbelievable.
My opinion, if they cut him and they keep Gold and do whatever they have to do, the Patriots desperately need a kicker. Nick Folk missed way too many times already this year, and we need a consistent kicker. And in clutch, when we had Adam Vinatieri and Gostkowski in the playoffs, and you need those 3 points. We need consistency, and the Pats don't have that right now.
Of course. So now, with that being said, do you think this is a contract year for Gostkowski, correct?
Please so, yeah.
Okay. Do you think they keep him, or do you think they go in another direction, trying to find another guy to put him in those situations?
I think they would keep him. He's been let's see. Adam Vinatieri left. What was it? 2007, six, I think. They had Gostkowski since then. I mean, Gostkowski's been great. Obviously, I think 2 or 3 times I can think off the top of my head where he missed a big hit. Other than that, he's been phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure.
Depends on how his surgery went, how he's coming back, if he still has the strength. Maybe after a couple of years or so, because he's one of the franchise guys too.
Of course,
Gostkowski. So we just have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have anything else to add about kickers in the NFL and how literally the rules have changed, how the game is played, even at the special teams level?
No, I definitely I'm going to stick with what I said. I really have nothing more to elaborate on that end of things.
That's fine. So now I want to get into what we thought surprised us the most this week, and I thought the game that was most surprising for me, which we've talked about pretty thoroughly, is the Jets and Raiders game. Raiders. Top 5 offense. Oh, look at that lightning. Yeah, that was lightning. Okay. Look at that. You guys obviously can't see it, but that's fine. But the little rumble there, that's nice. So the Raiders, top 5 offense according to Pro Football Focus coming into this week. Jets, top 5 defense according to Pro Football Focus. Yep, Jamal Adams has been playing like an absolute animal lately. Their front seven's getting after it a lot better. But overall, just you go into this game and you think it's going to be a total bloodbath because it's 2 bad offenses and a bad defense going at it, then a good offense and a good defense going at it. So the result of that game is very surprising, especially with how efficient John Gruden has made that offense. I think Greg Williams has done a great job taking over as the DC over in the Jets. And maybe if Adam Gase gets fired after next season, he takes up the realms. But let's just go into that game. What were some takeaways that you saw from that?
Just the struggles from the Raiders that you think John Gruden would have it already by now. That was a must-win game for them. It's already getting to the end of the year. So they're battling right now the Chiefs in the division. They got the Chargers, and the Raiders were on the rise. They were looking at Josh Jacobs. Their running back has been doing great, and then where was he?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a key part of their offense, and it just shows Derek Carr's inconsistency as well too. The Jets defense has been doing great, but no matter if you go against a great defense or not, you have to make those plays, make those adjustments, especially the second half adjustments too. Where were those? So that's just my take.
So from personality wise, for Derek Carr, something the other NFL player that he kind of reminds me of a little bit with his attitude is maybe not as much, but Jay Cutler. Kind of reminds me of where John Gruden wants that young guy that's like a get after it, a go-getter. He wants the guy that's taking control and has the enthusiasm, the same energy level that he has. And I've seen a couple of episodes of Hard Knocks where you're watching John try to coach him up and be like, this is the guy I need you to be. And just never really arrived there. And I think in order for a coach and a quarterback to really get things moving and going, X's and O's are one thing, calling the right play is one, but then having the energy and the belief that what you're doing, what you're going to execute is going to work. I think that's where everything comes together. And from an organizational standpoint, if it's not this year, then you might want to look for the guy that has the character that you're looking for not just the arm.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think Derek Carr has been great this year. He's the most accurate quarterback in the NFL as completion percentage goes and hitting open receivers. He's even his incompletions, his guys are dropping the ball half the time. It's not even that he's missing them. So he's back. He's not back to his MVP ways, but as an accuracy standpoint, he's definitely back to when he was riding that MVP season before he broke his leg. But I really like what John Gruden is doing over there, how he's got guys that you wouldn't expect to be performing well. Max Crosby getting after it. Cleveland Farrell on the other side is playing a lot better than what he did the first 5 games of the season. Hunter Renfrow getting after it in the slot. They bring in TJ Davis, who was a nobody, or Todd Davis, and now he's going off. I mean, he's not putting up big numbers, but when he gets the ball, he's just one of the most explosive guys on the field. So it'll be interesting to see how the Ravens perform other than that. But what was your big surprise of the week this week?
Oh boy, let's talk about that Bucks game real quick. Biggest surprise, literally biggest surprise. Vita Vea for the Bucks, who defensive end.
D tackle.
D tackle, 300 something pounds, goes up for a touchdown. He's the heaviest player in NFL history to catch a touchdown and record a sack as well. And I think the Bucks, crazy stat, right? About that today. You're like, it was wild, but I think the Bucks are probably one of the most disappointing teams I've ever watched. Them and the Falcons. And I feel like that's something we should talk about.
Oh, 100%.
Because if you look, so I saw the NFL today, and the two wide receivers from the Bucks, Godwin and Evans, top 5 receiving yards, and they're
3-7, I think.
4-7.
4-7.
Are you kidding me? And like, it also shows like Jameis Winston, great passer to an extent, can throw for a lot of yardage. Man, does he throw a lot of interceptions too? And go along with
I think he's up to 20 interceptions this year already.
Terrible. But if you think about it too, right, then you have the Falcons situation too. You have also 2 great wide receivers. Julio Jones, also top 5 yards leader in the NFL as well. And Calvin Ridley's been doing really good this year.
Good.
And you have Matt Ryan just
and let's not forget Austin Hooper, who's arguably the best tight end in the NFL this year.
Arguably. Wouldn't say the best, but
he's top 3 for sure this year.
Yeah, top 3 for sure. But it's just like you have these 2 massive powerhouses for offenses. And you can't win a game. What's going on? Like high scoring games, they just can't do it. What do you think?
Well, that shows the reliability they have for those 2 receivers, and being able to distribute the ball evenly in the NFL is a pretty key thing.
Yeah,
and I think like another side example to that is Christian McCaffrey, is where we saw the power of distribution.
55% of that scrimmage yards for that offense,
and we see how that changes when Cam leaves.
Yeah, they put Kyle
new guy comes in and says, well, we got to rely on this guy a little bit more and watch that kid go. And I think we'd be really surprised if we saw the same thing for the Bucks, where if there were more opportunities for the ground game.
Yeah, for Ronald Jones, he's been doing good.
Yep, and I think the more in the NFL you distribute and don't focus on one area, the better you are in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think the one team that's definitely taught us that is the Patriots. Constantly working with, a couple of good guys, but making sure everyone's distributed evenly so that no one can really pick up in one tendency.
Of course.
For sure. And speaking of tendencies and personnel packages and teams that are just know how to spread the ball out a lot, we got to talk about the Baltimore Ravens, because the past 2, 3, 4 weeks have just shown us they are the best team in the NFL, bar none. ESPN, it was the Patriots, the Ravens, then the 49ers, I believe, 1, 2, and 3. I think it's total BS. I think the Ravens, in my opinion, which my power rankings will come out next week and we'll know more. You go into it.
It was for
this is NFL Network.
Yeah, NFL Network. It was 49ers 1, Ravens 2, Patriots 3, Seahawks 4, and Saints 5.
Wow. So would you agree with that power ranking?
No.
Who do you think should be number 1?
For the AFC or the NFC?
Overall,
just
the
overall,
NFL, who's number 1?
My opinion would be the Ravens. As much of a Patriots fan as I am, the Patriots are like more of a defensive team right now than an offensive team, and Tom Brady expresses those struggles every week. And defense wins championships, I get that, but at the same time, too, you need some consistency on offense. If you can't just throw it to Edelman. You can't have James White just rely on the ball the entire time. Like Mohamed Sanu got hurt, got hurt. Now we're just like, all right, cool. Now what are we gonna do? Jacoby Myers did a great game though.
Oh, and N'Keal Harry, his first touchdown.
Yeah,
that was a beautiful one. Yes,
yeah, it was a great touchdown on him too. But maybe like it's gonna start going now. But that Ravens offense is just explosive.
Do you want to add a little bit on the Ravens offense?
You gotta cut me off because I might go a while.
That's fine.
All right. So the one team that I've been really paying attention to and doing a little bit of film work on is the Baltimore Ravens. What's really neat about them, and it's what's neat, but also not too original. I think Sean McVay did a great job for the Rams the previous year with this. I call it progressive motioning, where we utilize very similar personnel groups. We make everything look very similar. So let's say, for example, just picture it in your heads if you can for a second. We're going to do some X's and O's here. Let's say we got our offensive setup. We got 2 wide receivers on either side of the ball, and we've got 3 guys in the backfield, including the quarterback. So something that the Ravens like to do is they will dart one of the guys in the backfield out on a motion. They'll either, whatever play they pick, it doesn't matter. The next time you see the Ravens on the next series, the following play even, they'll now, instead of having the quarterback and 3 backs in the backfield, they'll only have 2. Do the same dart motion, but then utilize their play action pass. So instead of having, multiple guys stuck in the backfield and fighting their way into the flats and into areas where they can leverage out the defense in those areas, we already have guys that are in the slot on that following play. And the defense, then they're seeing that same guy who did that same motion earlier, except now someone else is already out there. And sometimes they're unaccounted for. And being able to gain the flank in those situations is absolutely huge.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I wanted to add in is it doesn't matter who's in the backfield. They interchange tons of different players. Jordan and I were going over this earlier. We said they have 5 different receivers that they're constantly using, 4 different tight ends, 2 fullbacks, and at least 4 different running backs in total. So when I've been looking at the film, I was trying to do a breakdown of, okay, who's in the backfield, and is that determining what's happening and when? No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. It doesn't matter if it's 2 fullbacks, a running back, and it's very difficult as a defense to try and key up on that, especially when progressive motioning is working the way it is for you. You're kind of at a loss of the defense, and you have to keep everything even keel. And you really have to be careful with when you're blitzing and how you really want to attack this offense.
For sure.
And really, the best way to beat a Ravens offense is to just do your job and remain in a base package.
It should be a huge game this week.
Well, I'll make an argument for you on that. Is that I think teams need to get away from the base packages, which is tough because when you got 2 tight ends and a big running back in the backfield, and then 2 fast receivers, how do you not stay in a base package? Because you need your fast corners, but then you need beef in the middle, which I think is the problem. But we saw this. The Chargers in the playoffs last year. Now, they had different players and different personnel. Patrick Ricard was not as good as he was. Mark Andrews was still rookie, and Lamar Jackson was still figuring out offenses. And they didn't have Marquise Brown as a speedster on the outside. So there's 4 weapons that are not as good and not even there that we saw last year. But the Chargers, when they played the Ravens, the whole game they had 6 or 7 DBs on the field. Yeah. They have 3 safeties at all times, and they switched between 3 or 4 corners the whole game. They were able to shut down that offense, and they only allowed 13 points throughout the first 57 minutes. And then the Ravens scored real quickly in the last 3 and almost won.
Yeah, so I'd like to clarify about that real quick. So when I mean the base packages, when the Ravens are lined up in that full house style look where they got the big boys in and maybe a couple of speedy guys on the outside, that's the package where we need to play even keel. There's other things that they're going to go into. They do a lot of funky. They still motion a lot, even in their trip settings and things like that. Then you leverage it a little bit differently. Then we're swapping out personnel guys. But if I was the defensive coordinator and I saw the Ravens come out with a tight end and a fullback in the backfield and then a running back with that pistol style look, I'm probably going to line up in a traditional 3-4, and I'm not going to change any alignments. I'm just going to say just go find the football, keep containment, and do your job that way. And obviously, trip scenarios, other things where we are spreading the ball out a little more, I would say. Absolutely. Got to adjust for those situations.
Right, sure. Would you say Lamar Jackson is the MVP right now?
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
I still think it's Russell Wilson, but that's neither here nor there. This week, how he plays against the 49ers is going to be a big tell. Anything you want to add, Eric?
We're going to see if the 49ers defense is going to
come to the table.
Going to figure it out. Every week, everyone's like, "Oh, the 49ers aren't that good. The Jimmy G's not that great." They're number 1 in the NFL. I think this could be a potential Super Bowl matchup.
It could be.
Could be. Do I think the Saints and the Seahawks are a bit better than the 49ers? Because they've been there, in my opinion, yeah. But we just have to wait and see. What do you think?
Who's that psycho defensive coach for the 49ers?
Oh, I have no idea what his name is, but the ball guy who's juiced up
I think we all know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
We all see him on the sidelines, and I didn't even see that matchup until I just looked at that nice little handy-dandy screen there. We just started talking about 49ers and Ravens. If there's anyone that might have a shot of stopping the Ravens,
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh.
Robert Saleh. Yeah, I think that's
the
one guy. Yeah, that's exactly him. Yeah, that guy's a psycho on this side.
Yeah,
He's super full of energy, and he is just as excited, if not more, than his players on the field. If there's anyone that's got a shot at stopping the Ravens,
it's the 49ers.
It's probably
the 49ers. Yeah. So we'll go a little bit over schedule here. I don't mind. Maybe doing a 40-minute episode, 45. We can go a little bit over, but individual performances have obviously been a big spot in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, obviously one of those guys who keeps winning AFC Player of the Week for the offense. It's unbelievable what he's doing. But there have been a lot of individual performers who have been showing up and not showing up. So let's just dive right into peakers and leakers. Eric, who's your peaker this week?
My peaker, so I have two. We have Sam Darnold, of course. That was one of the biggest stories this week. But also Jarvis Landry. Congratulations. We finally did something for the Browns. He went for a 10 for 148 with 2 touchdowns. It was just like, the Browns looked good.
Yeah, they did.
It was the Browns that we've been seeing on commercials with Baker Mayfield's all the hype. And, we finally got there. But, inconsistency.
Yeah.
Freddie Kitchens is literally, it's hot in his kitchen right now.
It's hot in his kitchen.
And it's been an interesting time. So those are my peakers for this.
Good. I'm gonna just pick one. I'm gonna go with Fabian Moreau. Do you know who he plays for?
Fabian Moreau.
Do you know who he plays for?
No.
He plays for the hapless Redskins. Let's go into it. They're playing the Lions.
Okay, that Redskins defense though, that was
they play, but they're also playing Jeff Driscoll and Bo Scarborough with a shady offensive line who have had injuries. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They get a win. It's very hard to win football games, especially in the NFL. But his stats: 6 tackles from the quarterback spot. You don't see corners making that many tackles. Okay. All of them were solo, by the way. No gang tackles for him. 2 picks. One of them he caught over the shoulder. He had no one in his zone, bailed back for it, so smart play. And 2 pass deflections and a big second win for the Redskins this year. So I think he was pivotal in their win. He didn't get the pick at the end that sealed the win. I believe that was their safety, not Collins. It was the other guy. But still, great job by Fabian Moreau finally getting some playing time. Oh, Quinton Dunbar was the one who got it. Excuse me. He's been playing very well this year, even with how bad they are. But really good job there. Zach, do you have any peakers to add who you thought played well this week?
I have nothing of significance.
Nothing of significance.
How about Brown from the Ravens? You should know about
Marquise
that.
Brown. I mean, I played our buddy John twice this year in fantasy, and both times I had Marquise Brown on the bench, and he decided to go off. One was week 1. No one knew how good he was. If I played him, I would have won. And if I played him this week, I would have been down by 2 points. Would have been close, but because I didn't play Marquise Brown in both games is the reason why I'm not in the playoffs for the first time in my fantasy football history. So shout out to all the boys giving it to me this year. It's been a bad season, but
he drafted 6 running backs.
Yeah, 6 running backs. That was a bad decision. So is there anyone in particular you thought this year has played better than, not necessarily MVP caliber, but has come to the plate when you thought he wasn't going to and just outperforming all of his expectations?
Zane Gonzalez for the Arizona Cardinals.
Really? The kicker?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's the first. I was actually thinking about this during the conversation so far, and I think Zane is actually one of the, as per points scored, is a top 5 guy. And so obviously Cardinals really struggling with Mr. Kyler Murray, which I still think he's doing still a good job for his offensive line that he has. But definitely, I think that what's been really surprising for me to see is a kicker scoring that many points and at least keeping his team alive. And when they're giving him the opportunity, he is executing for them.
That's awesome. I really like that point.
One of the bright sides of it.
Oh, for sure. And even going into that, Kyler Murray has very similar stats to Tom Brady this year. I don't know if you saw. Their passer rating is off by a point each. They have just as many passing yards, just as many touchdowns and interceptions.
I was actually reading an article this week. It was comparing the season for Tom Brady as it was for Peyton Manning's last season, where he was on decline.
Yeah.
And the defense basically won them that Super Bowl because he was trash. But I don't think Tom's been that bad. I think it's just the personnel around him too. Sure, he's missed some throws here and there, but everyone can miss a throw. But there's been quite a few drops and a lot of different personnel for them too. It's been an interesting year for them.
Of course. So now getting away from the guys who we thought have been great, let's look at some leakers. Who do you think played bad this week?
Oh my God, Amari Cooper, where you at, dog? Where were you? It was insane. Okay, Patriots defense. We understand it's been great defense this year. Let me just put the hat down. But sort of look like Stephon Gilmore,
unbelievable.
One of the greatest cornerbacks I think in the NFL right now.
He's the best.
The best by far. Holding a mark. You said he had 1 catch for it was
a penalty.
A holding penalty, whatever. Just you need to do something for the Cowboys, and that was also a great conversation at the end of the game too. Jerry Jones just saying flat out, they need to make the playoffs or it's bust for Jason Garrett, and I think they need to get it. Get rid of him.
Mhm.
He's done. He's just done. Need
So,
to get rid of that man.
I'm actually going to bring up an interesting point because I think Jason Garrett is. I think he's a good coach. A lot of people think that like, oh, he's just Jerry Jones's puppet. Oh, he's just a guy that claps on the sideline after every play. Pete Carroll does the same thing, and no one gives him shit. Yes, he has the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's won one, and he's been there, and he has a really good team. But Jason Garrett, he runs a very balanced offense. He gets in the gun. He'll go under center. He'll get in pistol. He's not one-dimensional. He uses a lot of different players at different times, which is why Michael Gallup has been having the year he's had. So, do you think Jerry? Do you think he's more of a puppet, or do you actually think he's a good coach and would do well somewhere else? Like, let's say with the Giants.
With the Giants?
There's the lot of rumors that he could be on the Giants by the end of the season.
Really?
Yep, he could be the new guy over.
Well, as long as he's not with the Cowboys, that'd be great. Because if you think about it, right, they have Ezekiel Elliott. They signed him to a giant contract. They have Dak as their franchise quarterback. They got Amari Cooper. They have Michael Gallup. They have these great guys on defense. And if you have all that, you need a coach.
That's very true.
You need a coach. And you know what? Every year, so Jason, it's going to be next year. It's going to be next year. Yeah, I'm sick of hearing these Cowboy fans in the background. Like they need it has to be his fault. The coach has to be responsible at the end of the day. And there's a lot of teams out there who have coaches who've been one and done. And they keep giving it to Garrett. Well, Garrett's not doing it. And they need to let him go. And my man Stephen A. Smith said the same thing. So they got to let him go. What do you think?
I'm trying to remember there was a coach previous to Mr. Jason Garrett. I think it was two coaches prior to Mr. Garrett. The situation was a Super Bowl was won, and Jerry Jones did not like him. And he says, you got to go. And so this conversation ensued during the offseason, and that coach did not voluntarily leave, and he was fired.
That's not Don Shula, is it?
I can't remember the names. I'm trying to recollect.
It might be Landry or Shula. I don't know if Shula coached the Cowboys, but I know he's up there.
Shula does sound pretty familiar. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is that I do believe Mr. Garrett has stuck around so far, not because of his successes, but because he is a yes man for Mr. Jones. Yeah. And he does listen to him. The other guys had some good successes, made deep playoff runs, won a Super Bowl, and because they didn't want to do what Jerry had asked them to do, they subsequently had to leave, whether that was on their own doing or they were forced to do so.
Do you think Jerry's too involved?
Yes, absolutely. Even though it is his money and he has rebuilt the franchise over, we've seen the Jones franchise rise and collapse right in front of us and slowly rise and fizzle out to where we are right now. Yeah. With a little bit of excitement with Dak Prescott.
Yeah. That's why I think the Cowboys are one of the most disappointing teams this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the Browns, Cowboys, and the Rams.
The Rams have been very disappointing.
So, like, one of my other leakers this week was Todd Gurley.
It's just like, he's been a leaker all year, let's be honest.
He's been a leaker all year, honestly. But the other thing is, too, just last week he had 28 touches, right? And they did phenomenal on offense. This week they minimized his production. I mean, what do you go for? 6 for 22 with 3 catches for -3 yards?
Less than 10 touches the whole game.
I was just like, what's going on? It's like, clearly you need this guy, but you're not using him. So I don't understand what.
Has the personnel up front for the Rams changed at all?
Yes, they lost 3 offensive linemen, or either injured or did not return.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I could say that could be a big factor.
I think that's a huge factor.
So.
The Rams offensive line last year was rated as the top offensive line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so if you're saying that 3 key pieces of that are gone,
they're now bottom 5 this year, according to PFF.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also exposes their one big problem back there too, Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's been.
Everyone was really hyping Jared Goff, but you know what? He's just an average quarterback that was protected by a great offensive line.
Of course,
now he doesn't have that. Now look,
no.
You know?
And he's making over 5 years, $134 million.
Yeah, no.
Which is
like, is that Jared Goff back there, or is that Ryan Gosling pretending to be Jared Goff? Like, what's going on?
For sure. I'm going to get into my picker this week. T.Y. Hilton, I thought, coming back from injury, has fresh legs, maybe not because of the injury, but he comes back after not playing for a while in a big divisional game. He goes 3 catches for 18 yards, but he dropped 3 passes, 2 of which would have been touchdowns if he caught it.
He blames himself.
And 3 of them were on 3rd down. So it's a first down or a touchdown.
Responsibility?
Yeah, wide receiver took responsibility.
That's nice to hear for
once. I know, but like he was really big on himself too. Like that guy wears his heart on his sleeve. He's really into that team, and he really feel bad for him too. It's just like the story of the Colts this year too.
Mhm.
Losing your franchise quarterback and you have Jacoby Brissett, part of the Wolfpack for
The Patriots.
Let's talk about that real quick. But like, just to see what he's done, Jacoby Brissett over there too is doing great. I think very under the radar. A lot of people aren't paying attention to him either, but just one of those stories.
Yeah. And I'm going to stick with the Colts with our boy Quentin Nelson because he's the reason why their offense let up the most sacks in 2017. He comes in, they let up the least amount of sacks, and their run offense, it doesn't matter who's back there. Jonah Williams, Naeem Hines, not Jordan Wilkins. Who's the other running back they have? I can't think of his name. Marlon Mack before he got hurt. But either way, whoever's back there, they're making plays because of what Quentin Nelson does on that line, and that has helped. That has helped Costanzo. That has helped Braden Smith on the other side. Ryan Kelly's played well. Mark Glasgow has played a lot better because of it, and it's just he's going to go down as the best offensive lineman in history. By the end of his career, I will say that because we've not seen this dominance since Larry Allen for the Cowboys back in the 90s, and he is the best offensive line in NFL history.
Yeah.
So
it's a heavy statement.
Yeah,
I see my eyes perk up when you mentioned Quentin Nelson because being an offensive lineman and hearing the mention of Quentin Nelson among these other names of top performers, he is up there for offensive lineman without a doubt. Mm-hmm. What he's able to do.
Oh my God.
So, obviously, Quentin Nelson is most famous for his one play where I forget who did he lay out, but he was screaming the whole way there. Yeah, so definitely what his claim to fame is literally at the left guard position, looping to the right, and just absolutely leveling someone and all the way.
I think it was Leon Jacobs
at the top of his lungs while he plowed through this guy. What's really neat about Quentin Nelson is not just his ability to do just his job, but sometimes he takes over the job of someone else. What I mean by that is just this past week, he was in a pass set. His center took over the nose tackle, and Quentin said, "I don't have work. Let's go find some work." The dude looks up the middle, sees the backer starting to sneak around the other side, goes from the left side of the offensive line, diverts to the right, and just absolutely blows up this outside backer trying to come in on a sneaky little blitz. And his quarterback is safe and protected back there.
I think they got off like a 30-yard pass or something like that because of it. So Zach, who's someone this year that you think has not been performing as well as we all thought, and maybe arguably having one of the worst seasons that he's had so far?
All right, so I know I said the thing about like rookie quarterbacks coming in wanting to produce right away. Someone that I was looking for a little bit more flash and pizzazz was obviously Kyler Murray, being a Cardinals fan. I definitely was very excited for him when he first got drafted. And then watching him throughout the preseason, some struggles, a lot of passes going incomplete, trying to make those air raid style throws that he's used to in college now at the NFL level. Those things are very difficult to do. Definitely thought he was going to be producing a little bit more as per completion rate, especially in air raid. Definitely don't want someone sitting around like in the 40%, even though the attempts that are being made usually make up for that in total yardage overall. But definitely looking to watching him grow. I don't want to say he's a leaker. I don't want to say he's a peaker.
It's growing pains.
Yeah, that's all it is. Yep.
And same thing with Daniel Jones. Well, I thought Daniel Jones was off to a hot start.
He did.
Yes.
And then, actually, the biggest disappointment for me, actually? Saquon Barkley. Where are you at?
He's done nothing since his injury.
He's really sad. Really sad to see.
Well, I mean, the other point is the past two games he's played against the Jets and the Bears, who have top 10 defenses this year. Even though the Bears aren't what they were last year, it's still a really good defense. They have one of the best front sevens in the league, and their secondary is just as good.
Yeah, but let's talk about the offense, though.
Oh, boy.
They're another one with that quarterback situation, too.
So there's a lot of gray area with Mitch Trubisky because I see it as he stepped up. He was a top 5 passer rating last year.
Are you serious?
He was top 5 passer rating quarterback last year. He was efficient with the ball. He could run out of the pocket. He only threw 8 interceptions last year and had 24 touchdowns. And he threw over 3,000 yards with a ragtag group of receivers. Allen Robinson still wasn't full back from injury. Trey Burton was new to the offense. Tariq Cohen was his best receiver on that offense, who's done nothing this year. I think a lot of it is that Matt Nagy does not want Mitch as his quarterback. I think he wants his guy. I think he wants someone new. And the GM for the Bears wants Mitch there because They wasted 6 draft picks just to move up one spot to get him, where the 49ers still would have probably taken Solomon Thomas, who hasn't panned out to be that great of a guy. He's a great sub guy, but he hasn't panned out to be that big pick. I doubt they would have gone after Mitch Trubisky with that second pick. But if you trade up one spot, probably had some inside intel on it. But either way, when you watch the throws he makes, when he makes good throws, it's just his bad throws are extremely bad. If you look when
his mechanics are terrible.
Oh,
if you look at
100%.
You ever see him like his feet when he throws?
He's hopping. He's not even sitting.
You're just like, what are you doing, dog? Like, you scared of ghosts like Sam Donald over there? Like, what's going on? And it's terrible. What's this third year in the
Yeah, third year.
It's just like you should be progressing, not regressing, and that's
smart.
one of the biggest
That's a good point. So, do you have anything to add about the Bears' offense, Mitch Trubisky, and all that?
Robinson had a great game.
Nothing. Yeah, Robinson had a very good game. I really liked how he played. But
should we go for picks for the week?
Yeah, let's get right into the picks. I'll pull it up on my phone here. Eric has his list, so we're just gonna go game by game. We'll all make our picks. Who's gonna do what? Give me 2 seconds here. But overall, I think I said this a couple episodes ago. I think this is one of the best NFL seasons so far. Would you agree? Disagree?
I really had to think about that. I mean, if you took out the refs, from
yeah, that's true.
Actually, speaking of the refs, something that no, we haven't mentioned yet. Did you see that the Saints got screwed on their penalty this year? So you know, like how they implemented that penalty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that review.
Oh, the pass interference one with Chauncey Gardner Johnson. Yeah.
So that actually backfired on them
Yeah,
this week. So it was so funny watching Sean Payton pissed, but it was hilarious.
But it was the right call. That was the absolute
right
right call. So there was a Carolina receiver. I think it was either DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, or Jarius Wright. I can't remember who.
DJ Moore.
They were on a crossing route, and Chauncey Gardner Johnson, Saints rookie safety, very good this year. He's going to be a starter by next season. He's sitting in the middle, has no one to cover. He sees DJ on the crossing route, and he just sticks his arm in his front, and he runs into his arm. Clearly pass interference, especially with the ball in the air. Would have been holding if the ball wasn't thrown, but you can't make a call like that. Or you can't commit that penalty, especially on third down when he blatantly misses a throw. Yes, it was uncatchable, but that's an extra step, and he slows down by that much because of it, and that can make all the difference. Any last things you want to add before we get into the picks?
No, I've definitely talked.
Yeah, so, all right, let's. We're getting up on the 50-minute mark. Let's get right into it. Bears at the Lions. I have the Bears on the road tomorrow night. Or tomorrow afternoon, Thanksgiving game. Ooh, dude, 3 big games this Thursday. What about you?
I have the Bears too.
The Bears?
Yeah.
Bears. All right, so we're all on the Bears. Bears. All right, this is going to be a good one. Prove a game for the Cowboys as the Bills come to town. Bills against the Cowboys. Who you got?
I got the Bills this week. I think the Cowboys are going to choke it.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Who you got?
Bills.
Really?
Bills have a great defense, bro.
And
Josh Allen?
Allen is playing very well.
Woo, very underrated.
I am going to give it to the Cowboys solely because the Bills have been good against the run, but when they play premier running backs, Le'Veon Bell that first game had 2 touchdowns when they played the Bills. But I think Ezekiel Elliott, they're going to figure it out with him, and I think there's just too many weapons that the Cowboys have to for this Bills defense to keep up.
I think the Cowboys just want to get rid of that record they have 0-4 against above 500 teams. That'd be isn't that terrible?
Awful.
Terrible. All right. So the next game we got is
Saints at the Falcons.
I have the Saints.
Saints?
I mean, I think it's going to be one of those blowout games, but I think the Saints got it.
For sure. I think the Saints are going to get it, especially after losing a couple of weeks ago to the Falcons and the way they did.
Playoff clinching game for them.
Exactly. Julio Jones might be out with an AC joint injury. That came up today. We'll see what happens with him. Who do you think? Saints at the Falcons.
Saints at the Falcons. It's going to be the Saints are going to win.
Saints are going to win that one. Battery low. Exchange battery. Oh, we are at full battery there.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Let me get this back. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We had a battery, a little mix up there, so we are back live now. But repeat what you said.
The Saints.
The Saints.
All right. Next we got Jets.
Jets at the Bengals. Who you got?
The Bungles, you mean?
The Bungles. Yes, the
Yes.
Bungles.
Jets over the Bungles. Yeah.
Jets over the Bungles. Jets have been playing too good. They'll be 5-7 after this week.
tank for whoever you want, Bengals. Just go for it.
Well, it's interesting because now Andy Dalton will be back, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs. But he hasn't played in a
He
couple
was
weeks.
good. He was doing all right.
Here's the problem: he doesn't have AJ Green, and 4 of his 5 starting off linemen are hurt. But it's just plain and simple.
It's tragic.
This is going to be a great game. Browns at the Steelers. I got the Browns winning again, taking over that second place spot and getting closer to clinching that wild card.
This is really soon.
Yeah.
I know.
You kind of want these two teams to be a little bit, maybe a couple more weeks apart.
Yeah.
You would have hoped what happened, what transpired the previous time.
Oof,
Probably,
all right.
this is what, 2 weeks?
2
2-week
weeks.
turnaround between everything that just happened on the field. A lot of craziness, and let's see if cooler heads prevail during this next game.
So who do you think's going to win?
The Browns.
The Browns?
Yeah.
I think the Browns will be better.
Browns, yeah.
Browns.
I don't think Doug Hodges is going to do much. All right. Packers at the Giants. Come on, bro.
If the Packers lose this game, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, we saw this last year where an NFC North team with only 3 losses on the year goes and plays a hapless New York Giants team and loses in fashion. But I still have the Packers. I think they bounce back after losing to the 49ers.
It's going to be the Packers.
Sweet. All right. Big divisional game, Titans at the Colts.
That's kind of a tough one.
Really?
Yep. I'm going to go with Frank Gore's healthy. I'm going to go with the Colts.
Frank Gore, who's on the Bills now.
Yeah.
Not on the Colts.
It's been a long
All good. Let's get into. I'm going to say the Colts are going to win this one.
Really?
I really
You
think they've been on a skid lately, but I think the running backs are finally getting into a rhythm. T.Y. Hilton's back. He's going to play a lot better this time around. And I just don't think that the Titans defense is going to be able to keep up. And Cameron Wake is on IR now. He just got placed on it this morning. So you lose one of your best edge guys on the team as well. So
I think the Titans can do it.
really,
Ryan Tannehill's been doing phenomenal.
I think he's been great.
Derrick Henry,
Uh-huh.
amazing.
Yeah.
This is a Derrick Henry we've been wanting to see, and he's finally here. And hopefully, they have consistency with their wide receivers. Hopefully, Brown can have another great game, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm excited for that game.
Of course. All right. Eagles at the Dolphins.
Eagles. If the Eagles lose, I mean, the Eagles have to win out, especially because they're we're going against the Cowboys. But even Wentz has been struggling. They released
Jordan Matthews.
Jordan Matthews too, out of nowhere. So really interested to see.
Of course. I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say the Dolphins here get a big win.
Really?
I think their defense has been playing a little bit better, even though they got absolutely mutilated by the Browns. I think the Browns needed that win, and they have too many weapons for.
So don't you think the Eagles need this one too?
They do need the win, but they don't have the weapons. They have too many injuries. Brandon Brooks, we don't know what's going on with his anxiety attack. Which big shout out to the Eagles with benching him after his whole anxiety thing. That's a huge, huge check there. But you don't have Lane Johnson this week. You don't know the story with Brandon Brooks. Your defense is playing good, but I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to figure it out as long as they can get the running game going. And the offense is in shambles. Carson Wentz, this is looking like his worst season so far.
Do you think they should have kept Nick Foles?
He hasn't had enough playing time with the Jaguars. He's played 3 games, and he's lost all 3. You didn't finish one of those games either, so we'll see. Who do you got? Eagles, Dolphins.
Eagles.
You got the Eagles?
It's not the Philly's going to burn if the Eagles lose.
Yeah. Literally, they'll be out of the playoffs. Keep it with you. Oh, hello. We were rotating there. There we go. All right. Buccaneers at the Jags.
Buccaneers at the Jags. Let's see if Gardner Minshew can turn around. I'm gonna say the Jags.
The Jags?
Yeah.
I do think Gardner Minshew is going to end up going into this game at some point. If Nick Foles can't get it going in his 3rd game back, even though it is a quick turnaround, you need some sort of spark. You need to figure out what your offense is doing. And especially against a tough Buccaneers defense, I think you give Gardner Minshew a shot in the second half. And I think because of that, the Jaguars end up prevailing against the Buccaneers. Kind of what we saw happen with Daniel Jones at the beginning of the season. Came in and took over.
If Winston can have a clean game,
That's a big if.
if maybe they still lose.
All right.
They could throw. I don't care if the man throws 400 yards and Ronald Jones has a phenomenal game.
They're still losing.
It's tragic. It's a tragic. story from them.
Very true. Redskins at the Panthers.
I would have the Panthers over Redskins.
Panthers over the Redskins.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Haskins.
have to agree. Yeah, true. And I think Kyle Allen is figuring it out. He did very well against a very good Saints defense. So I think they come away with the win.
Absolutely, the Panthers.
Absolutely, the Panthers.
Yeah.
Love to see it. We'll save this game for last. That's game of the week, in my opinion. Rams at the Cardinals. Who do you
Oh,
got,
jeez.
Mr. Big Cardinals fan?
I am a Cardinals fan. Yep. I'm gonna say the Cardinals.
Yep. At home.
At home, because in my opinion, I think the one thing that the Cardinals have always done well is their blitzing. That's one thing. Their zone blitz schemes, I think, are definitely some of the best that are out there, X's and O's wise, and especially with with an offensive line for the Rams that is it's pretty tattered right now. You only have 2 out of the original 5 from last year. I think that leads for some opportunities for the defense to make some plays.
For sure. I'm going to agree with you there. I think the Cardinals come away with a win. Started the season, tied the first game, and then lost 3, won 3 in a row. Now we're on a 4-game skid. I think this is where they start to turn it around. The defense is playing a little bit better. I think the Rams are kind of shook. Cardinals are coming off a bye week, and I think it's a big, big statement week for Kyler Murray in this offense. Maybe David Johnson gets involved in the offense. Who do you got?
Yeah.
Rams, Cardinals.
I mean, if the Rams want any playoff hope, they have to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think they're going to do it? Their offense has been looking really shaky. I mean, Cardinals, I haven't seen a lot of Cardinals games myself, but I think the Cardinals could do it. I mean, especially after that blowout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's embarrassing. I mean, they should have some heart. It will be a statement game for them. See who they really are.
All right. Then we got Chargers at the Broncos.
Chargers at the Broncos. Division game.
Yep. Both teams at the bottom of their division.
I was just about to say,
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
It's a who cares game. I think the Broncos could do it.
Really? With Brandon Allen back there slinging the rock?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, that's my stuff.
Okay.
Rufus is going to choke it. That's what he's going to do.
That's
Whoop!
true.
Oh, damn it.
I
Can we
think-
go home to my wife and 9 kids? Or whatever
That's-
it is.
I think if they want to win, Eckler or Gordon have to get 20 touches or more. One of them has to if they want to
Why
win.
not both?
Because that's 40 touches to 2 players. That's just not going to happen in NFL offense. It'd be crazy to do it against a good Broncos defense,
Yeah.
but the reason why they win is because Derwin James returns and he electrifies that offense to another level. They shut out the Broncos this week.
Wow.
That's a heavy statement.
That's a hot take. Who do you got?
That's a bold statement. I was going to say the Chargers. I was going to give them a shot since they are at home, and,
Wow.
Mhm.
and definitely give them the advantage over the Broncos in that sense. But a shutout, I don't know if I'd agree with that.
I would not
I could,
shut
I
out,
could
no.
see that maybe eking out a +7. I could see them doing that.
That's
But
true. All right.
Chiefs and Raiders.
Raiders at the Chiefs. Big game. If the Raiders win, they take first place in the AFC West. Who do you got?
It's going to be the Chiefs. They can easily outcoach the Raiders without a doubt.
I think if Josh Jacobs has a big game, the Raiders will come away with a win, but I don't think he will. It's going to be Chiefs all the way this time around. It'll be a close game, but Chiefs, one of the worst run defenses in the league.
Henry Reese wouldn't be sitting at a KFC. Just like, he'd be fine. Like, he's got it. If the Chiefs lose this game,
It's a big no-no.
That's a big. I mean, there was a lot of hype about
Some
the
warning
Chiefs.
flags, yeah.
Yeah, had a lot of warning flags, especially all the hype about Patrick Mahomes and Madden curse.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're gonna.
We haven't, we saw a little bit with the knee injury. That's definitely
Yeah.
a little bit scary, but he was able to pop back. I think no problem from that.
Yeah, pop it back in and then try to run again.
Yeah, literally pop it back in.
So we'll see.
All
Hey,
right.
game of the week.
Well, no. One more.
No,
Sunday Night
no.
Football. We actually 3 more. Patriots at the Texans. Who do you got?
All right.
Okay, I got the Patriots, but
Do you got the
obviously.
It's really a formality. We know it's the
All right, so we're all gonna say the
Patriots.
Patriots.
I mean, the defense is very strong. I mean, I get it. Like their offense, you got Deshaun Watson running around. Will Fuller's finally back, but I think Belichick knows what he's
Yeah.
doing.
I'm going to say the Patriots. Yeah.
Patriots.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
Established that.
Monday Night Football would be game of the week, if not for another game which we're saving for last. Vikings at the Seahawks.
I have to see how.
Seahawks. I'm going to go with the Vikings on this one. I'm going to say
Really?
this. I think Kirk Cousins has been playing very well, especially this latter half of the season. I think Dalvin Cook is going to get going after having a shady week 2 weeks ago. They're coming off a bye week. Seahawks just had a gut check from the Eagles. I don't think they turn it around. Jadeveon Clowney might not play this week, which is going to bode very well for the Vikings.
Yeah.
Their defense is going to shut down Chris Carson. They're going to be able to play very good defense. Even though Xavier Rhodes has been awful this year, Trey Waynes has stepped up. Anthony Harris has stepped up.
Is Thielen back this week?
Thielen might be back. I think that's going to be a huge hit. I think with how Kyle Rudolph has been playing, stack him up against Bobby Wagner, even though he's one of the best linebackers in the league. Just chuck it up, see if you can go up and grab it. Stephon Diggs has been playing very well leading up to the bye week. I think the Vikings have everything going. And if it wasn't for McCaffrey and how Lamar Jackson's playing, I think Dalvin Cook would be the clear-cut MVP this year.
Yeah, because he's putting the same numbers as Adrian Peterson in his MVP.
Exactly. So, I mean, we'll see. I really like the Vikings in this one at CenturyLink Field.
Definitely the Vikings. You like that?
Yeah, you like that.
You like that?
I love it. And especially that big comeback they had 2 weeks ago, down 20-0 to the Broncos, and then come back and win by 4 points. That's a big statement win. But game of the week, possible Super Bowl matchup, 49ers who are 10-1 at the Ravens who are 9-2. Can you wish my cousin Nick Kerr a happy birthday? Would mean a lot. Hey, Nick Kerr, happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday.
I don't know how old you are, but I don't know if you can drink it or not either. But definitely venture into the festivities a little bit. But who do you got, 49ers or the Ravens?
I really want the 49ers.
Yep.
I think the Ravens are going to pull it out.
Really, the Ravens?
Yeah, but I really want the 49ers, though. I really want them.
I want the 49ers too, but it's not going to be enough to stop Lamar Jackson in this on-fire offense.
It would be great for them to stop him. It would be phenomenal just to show, be like, hey, they can lose games.
And I don't think it's going to be the Ravens offense that wins this game. I think it's going to be this Ravens defense, who I think is very underrated with how they've been playing. Marlon Humphrey, top 5 corner. Marcus Peters playing like a top 10. They have one of the nastiest front sevens in the league, and you got Earl Thomas supporting it all in the back.
So far, the Ravens have led up. I think I looked at the stats this morning. About 200 points allowed for their defense. In comparison to that, they
202.
200. Okay, so for clarifying. But versus their offense, their scoring points for is 380 points.
386.
300, right, 386.
So more, a whole touchdown more.
So think about that. You've got a 180-point net differential. Even in flag football teams, you don't see those numbers.
Wow.
90% or more of their drives are scores.
Mm-hmm. What's the 49ers point differential? Oh, wow. The 49ers are actually right there with them.
They're up there
points
too?
for 332, points against 163.
Wow.
The only defense that's better than that is the Patriots with 117.
Well, they play in the AFC West, which doesn't have a lot of offense.
Well,
East, excuse me.
And the Bills, too. They've only allowed 173.
We see both these teams with great records, great stats.
Defense wins games.
Championships, not games.
It's going to
Well,
be
they win games and championships, boy.
It's I still want to say that the Ravens are going to come out on top, but this is definitely going to be a very exciting game to watch.
So who do you got, Ravens or the 49ers?
I'm going to say the Ravens are going to.
It's like a Super Bowl.
It's going to be a big Super Bowl matchup. But going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think Bill Belichick purposely played with only 5 and 6 DBs a game. He had Jawan Bentley, Jamie Collins, Dante Hightower, Kyle Van Noy on the field 70% of the snaps. I think when playoffs come around and they see the Ravens again, that's not going to be the case. I think 3 or 2 linebackers will be on the field at a time. So I think that's going to be the big change.
I mean, the Pats and the Ravens are really going to be fighting for that one seed.
They are. So any last thoughts, Eric?
That was everything.
That was everything. Zach, you got anything?
Can we do this again?
Oh, we will definitely.
Yeah, I would love to do this again.
Yeah, we'll definitely do this again. So that's going to wrap it up this week for Wash Up Wednesdays. Big clap, big thank you for Eric and Zach coming on the show this week. We made it work. A little bit tight quarters here in the close quarters, but we made it happen. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 14. Next week, tune in. We're going to go over 3 quarter season power rankings. Going to go through some of the big changes there. Who I think is going to make the playoffs, start making those brackets happen. Last note, I know we don't talk about college football, but it's total bull that LSU is not number 1 and Ohio State is.
Really?
Do you have any thoughts about college football?
I don't really watch too much. But...
No, I haven't watched.
So what's top 5?
Top 5, it is Ohio State, then LSU, Clemson, Georgia, then I believe Alabama is still number 5. But the fact that LSU is not number 1 and they've beaten 4 top 10 teams, I think is total bull. It's awful.
Well, it's a crazy stat. So Alabama's not going to make it to the national championship, right?
Well,
so you know what that means? That means the Patriots should be.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great point. But I know we don't talk about college football on the show, but wanted to bring that up, especially with now We're getting to the latter half of the season. A lot of NFL draft prospects are going to be
Tank for
talked about.
Tua.
Tank for Tua, bomb for Burrow.
Burrow.
Again, thank you guys very much for tuning in for this episode. I know we went double time. This is the longest episode today, but thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for tuning in. Hit the end stream button for me, buddy. Thanks again. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. Gotta hit end.
Yeah, I'm